Tomorrow, Sky Television, Rupert Murdoch's risky venture into satellite broadcasting, is celebrating its first year on air. In its early days, it was said that fewer people had seen Sky than had seen the Loch Ness Monster. Nevertheless, after its first 12 months, Sky's 4 channels, entertainment, sport, movies and news, are now viewed by over 1 million households in Britain and Ireland. But Sky needs much larger audiences than that before it can consider itself secure. And this year it faces further competition with the arrival of a second satellite broadcaster, BSB, who are confident that they'll win the fight for viewers. Sky won't be helped by the transformation of its most popular channel, Sky Movies, into a subscriber-only service. As from tomorrow, dish owners will have to pay £2.29 a week to get hold of one of these, Sky's so-called smart cards, to unscramble the picture. The introduction of subscription is a gamble which may or may not come off, but then risk-taking is the very essence of the Murdoch style. We'll be talking to him later on, but first a look at Sky's brief but eventful history.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage, premier étage. Décollage.
Beautiful liftoff.
Oh,
there was a lot of things that we were fed up with, and it was the repeats of programmes that we weren't particularly interested in the first time around. So, having had a good couple of weeks, I went down to the local television shop, and I happened to know the fella there as well, and talked to him about it, and came home with a satellite dish, put it up that afternoon, watched it from there on through.
First of all, they all started asking what was that thing on our roof, on the chimney. And we just used to explain to people what it was and how things were going. And it's quietened down a bit now because a lot more people understand what's going on.
Run BTC. Okay. On air. We're on air, everybody. On air.
The feeling on the night, apart from a tremendous sense of exhaustion, was an exhilaration that I've never felt in my career. I'll never forget it. The company set a launch date of February 5 and said, let's go for it. And defying all the odds, I guess, we made it. We put 4 very, very polished professional television networks to air on February 5.
Welcomed the settlement but warned other workers not to seek similar deals without offering similar improvements in performance. That's on the
12 months after its launch, Sky Television gives visitors to its West London studios an impression of calm, confident activity.
Strathclyde Police say a civilian pilot and 3 police officers were on board at the time.
The journalists who staff the company's state-of-the-art newsroom have the assured air that goes with success. Those who predicted that Sky News would be a television version of The Sun have been confounded by its solid journalistic content and smooth presentational style.
2, Keir. 2.
But despite this aura of quiet efficiency, well-placed observers believe that Sky's first year on the air has fallen well short of being a triumph.
11A Labour are out. What about 12 Mandela, Calvin?
I never thought that Sky would be a great force in the advertising business, certainly not in its first few years, if ever. In the event, they've probably taken a couple of million advertising revenue in their first year, and since ITV as a whole takes 1,700 million, they've taken 0.1 or 0.2% at best.
I think it made an assumption that people were more dissatisfied with terrestrial television than they in fact are. And its advertising campaign was far too complacent about simply offering an alternative and assuming that people would go for it.
The conservative estimates as to how much Rupert Murdoch is losing range between £2 and £3 million a week. So how long can he nursemaid that loss? He made a statement in October of 1989 to the effect that he would support Sky for another 5 years. I would have thought that he would come under concerted shareholder pressure from News International shareholders, who in effect are underwriting the cost of Sky Television.
Sky Television. More channels, more choice. That's why we're the one.
We've gone together and we're making friends.
To ensure its survival, Sky needs not just more viewers, but more upmarket viewers, the kind advertisers love. And it's widely thought that the only way in which Sky can hope to acquire such viewers is by offering a distinctive package of attractive programmes.
It's important to remember that people watch programmes rather than satellites, and if the programmes aren't good enough, then obviously people aren't going to watch them, whether they come from outer space or whether they come from Wigan.
Well, again, round the front, we can't put it on this edge because that tree, again, will be in the way.
Pop star turned opera composer Richard Coles belongs to that great mass of viewers who've yet to join the satellite revolution. The media show arranged for a satellite dish to be installed at Richard's home and invited him to review a week's worth of the company's output.
Roger, is it just the one colour?
Yeah, only the one colour.
No pastel shades then?
No, you haven't painted it yourself.
Hello, on this edition of the Frank Off interview, the shorter arm of the law.
7 days of channel hopping later, Richard's verdict on Sky was lukewarm, to say the least.
It's not exactly a richly larded cornucopia of visual delight, quite frankly. You know, imagine some kind of really odd TV station somewhere in Kansas or Montana owned by a mad old cattle baron's widow, kind of broadcasting weird, you know, really cheaply made stuff all held together with sellotape. It's like that, it really is. Except it comes from Osterley.
Let's switch first to Sky One.
I couldn't believe Sky One. It really is. If you imagine, like, going to a passport machine but having a film camera in instead of just an ordinary camera, and that's Sky One. There was one man on who was the kind of person you'd imagine would entertain old people for nothing, who'd go around to old people's homes but not ask for a charge. And he was terrible. It just seems to me to be... Complacent is too nice a word for it. I think it demonstrates they have this, it seems to have a real contempt for its audience. They really do seem to think they can put on any old trash and just keep people watching, which I don't think, I mean, it's nice to see them, that they're disappointed, because I don't think that works.
And Sky Movies, bringing the very best of the filmmaker's art direct into your home with no interruptions, nothing but movies.
The only thing, to be honest, that I want to continue watching would be the movie channel. But that's really odd as well, because the thing I've seen on which I've enjoyed most of all was Carry On Camping, I think. It was good. And then the rest of it seems to be these really odd ones about sort of muscle-bound American Vietnam vets going around and blowing everything up and everything. It doesn't really do much for me. I mean, I'm not saying we should have a channel of Peter Greenaway films or something, but I do think it could be kind of a bit of a more interesting selection.
Not everyone, of course, would agree with Richard's somewhat scathing assessment of Sky's output. Many of those who've tuned into Britain's #1 over the past 12 months feel that they've benefited from the experience.
The satellite has enabled us to watch a lot of things when we want to watch them. For instance, the sports channel has enabled us to watch sport when we want to watch sport, rather than when the major channels dictate we have to watch the sport, because there's sports on 24 hours a day.
They have some very good nature programmes, Frank Boff's World. It goes all over the world, in quite peculiar places, which is very interesting. The children like the wrestling. There's a programme, something 2000, what's it called?
Beyond 2000.
Beyond 2000. That's a sort of an international Tomorrow's World. And you get some very interesting bits and pieces, again, drawn from all over the world on that.
Destined for the great entertainment venues of Europe, we bring you rising stars from across the land.
Even those who approve of Sky, however, find some aspects of the service more satisfactory than others. Many of them are unhappy, for instance, about Sky Movies becoming a subscription channel. And there are also complaints about the type of programmes shown on Sky One.
There is definitely a reliance on American programmes as such. The stock of the Sky One programmes tend to be American soaps or American game shows or American sitcoms of some sort or another. And they tend to be old. So you're looking at things that are several years old.
It seems to come from the 60s. Like over the weekend, there was one family group on for an hour, and then they had the commercial break, and then you had another family group on for another hour. So that was 2 hours full of American families. And it's so outdated.
Is it a quality service, Sky One? Is it quality programming?
I'm not quite sure what that word means anymore. I guess I've been engaged in the debate about the definition of the word quality for about 7 years, and I'm not too sure. I'm never quite too sure how to respond to that. I guess everybody has a different definition of what quality means. The definition I like to work to is really contingent on what the producer's intent was when he set out to make the program. I believe it's possible to have a quality game show. I believe it's possible to have a quality chat show. I don't think the word quality is necessarily reserved for high-cost costume drama.
I've always wanted to know what went on in that Turkish bar.
Well, as far as I know, it was a lot of music, but I don't know what else went on.
Really?
He's trying to get nasty about it.
No, I'm not. Barry, are you seriously telling me that...
Quality programming or not, Sky's output is sure to come in for even greater scrutiny in the next few months, as the company faces direct competition for the first time.
I don't know why. She got booked at a Turkish bar.
British satellite broadcasting is due to launch this spring, and those behind it have a stark message for their rivals at Sky.
I would say that they're looking down the barrel of a fully funded gun, and very shortly we're going to be telling them about programming that's going to knock their socks off.
Nobody knows at present whether or not the proud boasts of BSB chairman Anthony Simmons-Gooding will turn out to be justified. Like Sky, BSB is a company with problems. Its launch has already been put back twice due to technical difficulties, and it still hasn't managed to agree a retail price for its reception kit with the companies who are manufacturing it. Nevertheless, BSB, which has invested heavily in both programs and equipment, is clearly gearing up for a fight to the death, and there's no certainty that Sky will emerge as the victor.
The next 8 months are going to be absolutely crucial because we're going to have competing systems, we're going to have consumers who have been holding off making a choice, finally being presented with the reality of two systems and being able to make a choice.
Who do you think the successful participant will be?
Personally, I believe that BSB will be the successful candidate, primarily because of its superior program schedule, its wider investor base, and ultimately its more dedicated and superior program delivery.
The problem is that at the moment Sky is to commercial television as the Birmingham Post is to the national press. It may be cheap, it may be good value, there may be a right time to use it for advertising, but it is not a national mass medium.
If you were in Murdoch's shoes now, what would you be feeling?
Worried.
Why? What would be your principal concern?
My principal concern would be that at the moment the sums aren't adding up, and the prognosis from where I sit just isn't optimistic enough. About 10 to 15 million pounds of advertising revenue, no precedent for a subscription market, 100 million pounds worth of operating costs a year, and independent forecasters saying that dish buying is going to be very slow. My own evidence telling me that dish buying has been very slow so far. It doesn't look too good.
He's got a deep pocket.
Yes, but then so has BSB.
If Sky Television is widely seen as a gamble, then the responsibility must rest squarely on the shoulders of one man, Rupert Murdoch. He may have succeeded in changing the face of British newspapers, taking over the Times, defeating the print unions, and turning the Sun into Britain's least respectable and most popular tabloid. But his future in British television is less secure. He's just taken over the reins from Andrew Neil as Sky's executive chairman, in what's widely seen as a determined, even urgent attempt to ensure its future. I went to the News International headquarters at Wapping to talk to him about his most risky venture. Mr. Murdoch, Britain is known worldwide as having the best television in the world. Why do we need Sky?
Well, it depends who you listen to. I don't agree it's the best television in the world. It has some of the best television in the world, but it's limited. People like choice. People like the freedom to get different channels. Teenagers might like MTV. Other people like to have more sports. And all those tastes should be accommodated if they can be done economically. If you buy a dish to get Sky, you get a lot of other channels as well. And after Astra put up their second satellite, there'll be numerous channels there that are available. And if people wish to watch them, it's a free country. I mean, we may be wrong. It's quite possible we'll lose a lot of money.
A year ago, Sky Television was launched. Why have you decided now that Sky, which is only one of your worldwide media interests, deserves your personal attention?
Well, Sky's the newest. It's the biggest at the moment. It's costing us a lot of money. And if it goes wrong, I'm going to get blamed, nobody else. So I'm paying a lot of attention to it.
To the outside world, it would indicate a certain lack of confidence in Sky.
No, on the contrary, it's meant to be a show of confidence and a show of dedication, too. We are pouring a lot of resources into it. We believe in it, and we're going to get there.
It isn't that you're the only man who can do the job, so they had to graft you in the state of panic.
No. I think Andrew Neil did a great job, but you can't go on doing two jobs. And so he had the choice, and he chose the Sunday Times, and I'm filling in until we get it into profit, or at least for a few months.
You've said in the past that you'll give Sky 5 years to become a going concern. Do you still stick to that?
Absolutely. It seems a reasonable time to see whether we're doing the right thing.
When do you imagine Sky will break even?
Well, in my dreams, I hope in perhaps 3 years, but certainly within 5.
Most people would agree that the programming is intrinsic to the success of a TV channel. Are you happy with the quality of the programming on Sky?
Yes, well, I'm very happy. I think it looks better, it's better presented than any of the existing British channels. It has a lot of programs that are better, it has some that are not better, just as there's a whole wide variety of quality, even on Channel 4 or even on BBC One. And it's a matter of taste. One man's quality is another person's trash, or another person's boredom. And just let people choose, that's all we say.
What sort of people is Sky pitched at?
Oh, I think young, middle class, skilled people, people who spend a lot of time at home.
So why do you think so many advertisers see Sky as such a down-market service?
Well, maybe we're selling it wrongly. They're wrong, if that's the case. It's certainly not as down-market as ITV, ITV1, if you take the broad average of people who watch. But that will change. We don't have enough numbers yet. It's very early days. Research across a few 100,000 people in this huge country is not very meaningful. Wait till we have 2-3 million homes getting Sky, and we will be inundated with advertising.
When will that be?
A couple of years.
And if it's not?
If it's not, we're wrong. But it will be.
If it's not, News Corporation is in a lot of trouble because you put an incredible amount of money, of News Corporation's money into it. I mean, your profits this year are down 60%, and a lot of that must be due to Sky.
I think we got 60% from. They may be before we're through the year. It's early days yet. We're only halfway there. But whether they're down 40, 50, 60, doesn't matter. It'll be very largely due to Sky. We're writing off half our profits to the establishment very broadly speaking, to the establishment of Sky this year.
You set a pre-launch figure of 2 million dishes by this time, in a year. Where exactly are you on dish sales?
Dish sales are now, we think, going at a rate of about 100,000 a month. Finally, it took some time to get there. It took us to get till October to get to that level. But they're now running very well. And we expect that the monthly surveys will show us at 600,000 dishes, as well as the 600,000 cable homes we're in. So at about 1.2 million. Now it may be 1.3 million, it may be 1.15 million. You can't be precise about it. But they're going very well, and I would hope that we will do another 1 million in this year, 1990.
But it's a lot slower than you thought it was going to be. You set a pre-launch target of 2 million.
Yeah, well,
and
that proved
half a million.
absolutely. That proved unrealistic.
Were you surprised?
No, I was disappointed. But now that we're going at the pace we're going, I'm reassured. The first 6 months were certainly very worrying.
In April, BSB start transmitting with what they say will be better programs, with better reception equipment, delivered to a more upmarket audience. How is Sky going to survive that?
Well, let's wait and see. I mean, we've been hearing statements from them now for 2 years, and not one of them have been proved right or true. We're going to have a square reel, we're going to launch a year ago. They're going to have all this money. Are they really? We'll see. As for their programs, the only thing that they would be close to equal to us on will be in movies, where they have the output deals of 3 of the big 7 Hollywood companies. We have them of 4. And we think we have the 4 better companies.
How do you respond to criticisms that, to the way that Sky has been promoted in News International newspapers?
Oh, I think it's a lot of nonsense. We have 70% of the press against us, trying to rubbish us. They've only been, the Times and the Sunday Times have not at all. In fact, I'm rather resentful that the Sunday Times seem to have been so sensitive. They've helped BSB a lot. Great half-page interviews saying what great men they are. They're too self-conscious to do that for us, which is all right. But the Sun and Today have certainly vigorously said, here's something new and big. And it is something new and big. Why are you giving an hour program to it? There's no secret that we're doing Sky. It's no secret that ITV owns TV Times, or BBC owns Radio Times, or that Mr. Maxwell promotes his books about communist leaders in his newspapers. You know, that's, so long as the public knows what's behind it, there's no secret agenda, it's okay, I think.
Will you carry listings for BSB when it starts in your newspapers?
Oh, of course. Of course we will. You know, other newspapers didn't do that for us. We will absolutely carry listings for BSB.
In the light of what's been happening in Eastern Europe, are you at all tempted to run a TV channel directed towards Eastern Europe?
I'd love to, but there are many difficulties about that. First of all, there's more than one language, and there's no possible source of income there. No one has any money to buy advertised goods or indeed to pay for a channel. You have to be there to realize just how poor they are.
Are you looking towards any other commercial opportunities in Eastern Europe?
Not commercial. Well, we have a little newspaper there, yes, but these are really very small things. We're just putting out feelers that we'd love to be involved. We're going to announce some scholarships for Eastern European journalists to come and work here and work on our newspapers and television stations, wherever they may be, in England or Australia or United States, so that at least we'll have friends in these countries in the future.
Is the one newspaper you've bought in Hungary the first of many?
No, I don't think so. We're not after many newspapers, but we have this little newspaper, a little evening paper. We may start a morning edition out of it. It's up to the people there.
It isn't like you just to buy one newspaper, Mr. Murdoch.
Oh, yes, it is. Very much. We have a lot of small things and we go slowly. Sometimes we take big steps, like with Sky Television, or buying the Times. They're big, gambling steps which most people think are going to destroy us. And we only take those every so often.
The Labour Party have pledged to prevent you from controlling both Sky and your British newspapers. Are you worried by the prospect of a Labour government in the 90s?
Not at all. I think if it happened right now, it would deprive 1 million of their supporters, perhaps, of television, so I don't think they would do it. If it happened in 5 years' time, when Sky would be very successful, they would be the government, we would obey it, we would sell. And it's quite possible. I don't think it's happening. I think the rest of the world is turning against socialism, and Britain is not such an island that they're about to go the other way.
If you had to choose between Sky and your newspapers, which one would you choose?
Oh, the newspapers, absolutely.
Even though Sky has cost you so much money so far?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a newspaper man.